In Denver International Airport's departure lounge, a disabled veteran was about to face her greatest humiliation. What started as waiting for a connecting flight took a shocking turn when she came face to face with overzealous security staff. Elena Curry wasn't your typical struggling veteran. For 8 months, she had been tracking the most dangerous terrorist cell on American soil, known for her razor-sharp intelligence despite chronic pain and PTSD. When security dragged her from the terminal, she had no idea her cover was blown. What began as public humiliation would become a race against time to prevent mass casualties. 8 minutes later, a Black Hawk landed outside. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Elena Curry shifted in the uncomfortable airport chair, her left leg throbbing with the familiar fire that had become her constant companion since Kandahar. The departure lounge at Denver International Airport buzzed with the usual chaos: crying children, harried business travelers, the endless announcements echoing through the terminal. She checked her phone again. Still 2 hours until her connecting flight to D.C. The pain was getting worse. Eleanor reached into her carry-on bag, fingers finding the prescription bottle with practiced ease. 3 years of chronic pain had taught her to recognize the warning signs, the deep ache that started in her hip and radiated down to her ankle, the way her damaged nerves fired in unpredictable patterns. She dry swallowed 2 pills, not caring about the bitter taste. "Excuse me, is she okay?" Elena glanced up to see a middle-aged woman in a business suit whispering to her companion, both of them staring. Elena realized her hands were shaking, slightly, a side effect of the medication mixing with her PTSD meds. She tucked her hands under her thighs and tried to appear normal, whatever that meant anymore. The whispers continued. More eyes turned her way. Eleanor felt the familiar crawl of anxiety up her spine, the hypervigilance that never quite left her. In Kandahar, being watched meant danger. Here it just meant judgment. Her phone buzzed with a text from her handler. Package ready for pickup. Timeline unchanged. Elena deleted the message immediately, muscle memory from 8 months of deep cover work. The mission was everything. Tracking the cell had consumed her life, given her purpose beyond the pain and the nightmares. She couldn't afford to blow it now because some civilians couldn't mind their own business. But the pills were hitting her system, making her feel disconnected and slightly dizzy. Elena gripped her cane and tried to stand, needing to walk off. The medication fog. Her leg buckled slightly, and she grabbed the armrest to steady herself. Oh my God, I think she's having some kind of episode. Someone should call security. Is she on drugs? Eleanor's jaw tightened. She wanted to tell them exactly where they could shove their concern, wanted to flash her military ID and explain that she'd earned every scar and every pill, but her cover required her to be nobody special, just another broken vet struggling to get by. "Ma'am?" The voice carried authority, and Elena looked up to see 3 airport security officers approaching. The lead officer was tall and broad-shouldered, his uniform crisp and his expression all business. His name tag read, J. Thompson, Supervisor. "We've received reports of concerning behavior. Are you feeling all right?" Elena straightened, her military bearing asserting itself despite everything. "I'm fine, officer. Just waiting for my flight." Thompson's eyes swept over her, taking in the cane, the way she favored her left leg, the slight tremor in her hands. "Have you been drinking or taking any substances this evening?" "I've taken prescribed medication for a service-related injury." Elena's voice carried an edge she couldn't quite suppress. "I'm a veteran. I'm going to need to see some identification." Elena handed over her driver's license, watching Thompson's face for any sign of recognition. But her cover identity was solid. Elena Curry, unemployed. No military service listed anywhere that a security supervisor could access. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us for additional screening." Additional screening. Elena's voice rose slightly. "I've already been through security. I have a boarding pass." Thompson's stance shifted, becoming more authoritative. Elena recognized it, the posture of someone used to immediate compliance. "Ma'am, we have reports of erratic behavior and suspected substance use. We need to verify that you're not a threat to yourself or other passengers." A threat. Elena felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. "I'm not a threat to anyone. I'm a disabled veteran trying to catch a flight. That's what we're going to determine. Please gather your belongings." Eleanor's military training warred with her cover requirements. Every instinct told her to assert her authority, to demand they contact her handler, to make them understand who she really was. But the mission came first. Always. "This is ridiculous." Elena stood slowly, her leg protesting. "I'm not going anywhere." Thompson stepped closer, his two officers flanking him. "Ma'am, you can cooperate voluntarily, or we can do this the hard way." The phrase triggered something in Elena. Memories of being cornered, of having no good choices. Her breathing quickened and she could feel her heart rate spiking. The medication wasn't helping, making everything feel distant and surreal. "I know my rights," Elena said, her voice carrying the snap of command despite her effort to stay calm. "I'm a United States Army veteran, and I haven't done anything wrong." "Army, huh?" Thompson's expression shifted, something personal flickering across his features. "Well, ma'am, military service doesn't give you a free pass to disrupt airport operations." Elena's temper flared. "Disrupt? I've been sitting quietly, minding my own business while people stare at me like I'm some kind of freak show. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to lower your voice and come with us." "No." The word came out flat and final, backed by years of military authority. "I'm not going anywhere." Thompson's hand moved to his radio. "We have a non-compliant individual at gate B27. Request backup." Elena realized she was losing control of the situation. Her cover was paramount, but every fiber of her being rebelled against this treatment. She'd served 3 tours, lost friends, sacrificed her body for this country, and now she was being treated like a common criminal. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a woman with auburn hair holding up her phone, clearly recording. Great. The last thing she needed was to go viral. "This is harassment," Elena said, her voice carrying across the departure lounge. "I'm a disabled veteran, and you're treating me like a terrorist." Thompson's backup arrived. 2 more officers, all of them now forming a semicircle around Elena. The recorded woman was still filming, and other passengers had their phones out too. "Ma'am, last chance," Thompson said. "Come with us voluntarily, or we'll place you under arrest for disorderly conduct." Elena looked around at the circle of officers, at the phones recording her humiliation, at the staring passengers who saw only a problem to be dealt with. 8 months of careful work, and it was all falling apart because she couldn't keep her mouth shut. But she was Elena Curry, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army. She'd survived an IED blast that killed 3 of her soldiers. She'd crawled through Taliban territory with a shattered leg to call in an airstrike that saved her unit. She'd be damned if she'd let some airport rent-a-cop drag her away like garbage. "Don't touch me," Elena warned as Thompson reached for her arm. But he was already moving, his hand closing on her elbow. Elena's combat reflexes kicked in, a sharp pivot that broke his grip, her cane coming up in a defensive position. To the untrained eye, it looked like an attack. "Subject is armed," Thompson shouted, and suddenly all 4 officers were on her. Elena's cane clattered to the floor as hands grabbed her arms, her bag forcing her down. The pain in her leg exploded. as someone's knee connected with her injury, and she couldn't suppress a cry of agony. "Stop! You're hurting me!" Elena struggled against their grip, her military training telling her to fight, to resist, to never give up. But there were too many of them, and her leg was screaming. Through the chaos, she could hear the woman with the phone. "This is unbelievable. They're assaulting a disabled veteran." Elena felt herself being dragged across the polished airport floor, her leg trailing uselessly, her dignity stripped away with every inch. The faces of the passengers blurred past, some shocked, some indifferent, some filming her destruction. As the security office door slammed behind her, Elena's training finally reasserted itself over her emotions. The mission wasn't blown yet. She could still salvage this. But as she sat in the plastic chair, her leg throbbing and her hands shaking with rage and humiliation, one thought echoed through her mind. 8 months of tracking the most dangerous, and terror celled to threaten American soil, and she might have just compromised everything because she couldn't stomach being treated like every other broken veteran trying to find their place in a world that had already forgotten them. The real tragedy wasn't her humiliation. It was that tomorrow, somewhere in America, innocent people might die because Elena Curry had finally reached her breaking point in an airport departure lounge. The security office felt like a cage. Elena sat rigid in the plastic chair, her hands cuffed behind her back despite her protests about her injury. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows that reminded her of interrogation rooms in forward operating bases. But this time, she was the one being interrogated. Officer Thompson stood across from her, filling out paperwork. With methodical precision, his 2 subordinates flanked the door like sentries. Elena studied them with professional interest, the way the younger officer kept glancing at her with something that might have been sympathy, how Thompson's jaw clenched whenever he looked up from his forms. "Name and destination," Thompson said without looking up. "Elena Curry, Washington, D.C." Elena kept her voice level, professional. The medication was wearing off, leaving her legs screaming and her mind sharper. "I'd like to know what I'm being charged with. Disorderly conduct, resisting security personnel, assault with a weapon." "Assault with a weapon!" Elena's voice cracked with disbelief. "It's a medical cane, you idiot." Thompson's pen stopped moving. "Ma'am, I'd suggest you watch your tone." Outside the office, Elena could hear the normal sounds of airport operations, announcements, rolling luggage, conversations, life moving on while hers ground to a halt. She thought about the text message, about her handler waiting for contact that wouldn't come, about 8 months of careful surveillance work evaporating because some passengers couldn't mind their own business. Meanwhile, 30 yards away at gate B27, Jennifer Walsh stared at her phone screen with growing excitement and horror. The video was already at 3,000 views and climbing fast. Comments flooded in faster than she could read them. "This is disgusting. How do we treat our veterans?" Oh, that's what she gets for causing a scene. Airport security out of control again. Share this everywhere. Non-veteran justice. Jennifer had built her social media following by calling out corporate injustice and workplace discrimination. 50,000 followers who trusted her to shine light into dark corners, but this felt different, bigger. The woman in the video, Elena, she'd heard the name, hadn't just been arrested. She'd been broken down, piece by piece, in front of everyone. "Excuse me, are you the one who filmed that?" A man in his 50s approached Jennifer's seat, his own phone in hand. "I'm with Channel 7 News. We'd like to license your video." Jennifer looked up, suddenly aware that she held something powerful in her hands. I'm not sure. I just wanted people to see what happened." "Honey, people are seeing it. Your video's been shared 4,000 times in the last hour. Veteran justice is trending in Denver." Across the terminal, Dr. Sarah Gray was finishing her shift in the airport medical station when her pager buzzed. Security incident requiring medical evaluation. She grabbed her kit and headed toward the security offices, wondering what she'd find this time. Usually it was panic attacks, diabetic episodes, or the occasional passenger who'd had too much to drink. But when she arrived at the security office and saw Eleanor through the small window, her trained eye immediately catalogued details that the security officers had missed. The way Elena held her left shoulder, compensating for an injury, the pale cast to her skin that spoke of chronic pain, poorly managed. The 1,000-yard stare that Sarah recognized from her own mirror on bad days. "What happened?" Sarah asked Thompson. "Disorderly passenger, claims to be a veteran. Was acting erratically, possibly under the influence." Sarah studied Elena through the window again. The posture, the bearing, the way she scanned the room despite being restrained. "She is a veteran." Thompson's eyebrows rose. "How can you tell?" "The same way you can tell someone's a cop." Sarah kept her voice neutral. "Has she been medically cleared?" "She was conscious and responsive during arrest." "That's not what I asked." Sarah's tone carried the authority of someone who'd treated battlefield trauma. "Open the door." Elena looked up as Sarah entered, her dark eyes assessing. Sarah saw recognition there, not personal, but professional. One veteran identifying another. "I'm Dr. Gray, Airport Medical. I need to examine you for injuries sustained during your detention." "I'm fine," Elena said automatically, the default response of someone trained never to show weakness. Sarah knelt beside the chair, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Wounded Warrior Project?" Elena's facade cracked slightly. "Army. 3 tours. Navy. 2 tours as corpsman." Sarah's hands moved professionally, checking Elena's wrists where the cuffs had chafed, examining the bruising on her leg where the officers had grabbed her. "What's your pain level?" "Manageable." "Bullshit. Scale of 1 to 10. Elena met her eyes. 8, maybe 9. Sarah stood, turning to Thompson. "She needs immediate medical attention. That leg injury looks serious." "She was injured during lawful detention. She was injured in Afghanistan, you moron." Sarah's professional composure slipped. "Look at the scarring pattern on her leg. That's blast fragmentation, not something that happened 20 minutes ago." 200 miles away, in a nondescript office building in Virginia, David Kim's computer chimed with an alert. The 24-year-old intelligence analyst looked up from his code analysis, frowning at the notification. Social media monitoring had flagged a video containing keywords related to their operation. David opened the link and felt his stomach drop. Elena Curry, codename Blackbird, being dragged across an airport floor, already shared 8,000 times and trending nationwide. Oh shit! David reached for his secure phone, speed dialing his supervisor. "Sir, we have a problem. Blackbird's been burned." 3 rings. "Hayes, General, this is Kim. Blackbird's cover is blown. She's been arrested at DIA and it's all over social media." A pause. David could hear General Patricia Hayes processing the implications. 8 months of work. A terror cell ready to strike, their best asset sitting in airport security. How bad is the exposure? David refreshed the page. 12,000 shares and climbing. Our veteran justice is trending. Local news is picking it up. God damn it. Hayes was already thinking ahead, David could tell. Contact Sullivan, emergency extraction, full authorization, and get me a direct line to airport security. Back in the medical station, Sarah finished her examination while Thompson watched nervously. Elena's medical file would make interesting reading if anyone had access to her real records. "She needs to be released immediately," Sarah announced. "This woman has documented PTSD and chronic pain from combat injuries. Your officers used excessive force on a disabled veteran." Thompson's face flushed. "She resisted arrest." She defended herself from perceived threats. That's what we train soldiers to do. Sarah's voice carried steel, and now it's documented medical necessity that she be released. Elena listened to the exchange with growing alarm. Too many people were getting involved, too many questions being asked. She needed to get word to her handler before this situation spiraled completely out of control. But outside the airport, she could hear the distinctive sound that made her blood run cold. Helicopter rotors, coming fast and low. Either her backup was coming, or 8 months of the most important mission of her life was about to end in spectacular failure. And given how this day was going, Elena wasn't sure which option scared her more. The sound of helicopter rotors grew louder, reverberating through the airport's structure like thunder. Elena's head snapped up, her trained ear immediately identifying the aircraft, UH-60 Black Hawk, probably military configuration, coming in fast and direct. Her pulse quickened. That wasn't a coincidence. In the maintenance tunnels beneath Terminal B, Ahmed Hassan was replacing fluorescent bulbs when his co-worker Miguel's phone started buzzing with notifications. "Yo, Ahmed, you gotta see this shit," Miguel said, holding up his phone. "Some disabled vet getting dragged around upstairs. It's all over Twitter." Ahmed glanced at the screen with practiced disinterest. The same mild curiosity he'd shown for 3 years of working alongside these people. But when Elena's face filled the phone display, his blood turned to ice. The woman from the surveillance photos. The one his cell leader had shown him 6 months ago with strict instructions. "If you ever see this face, you contact me immediately. She's Army intelligence, and she's been tracking us." Ahmed's hands trembled slightly as he continued replacing the bulb, muscle memory keeping him functional while his mind raced. Elena Curry was here, at DIA, where his cell had spent 18 months planning their masterpiece. "Crazy, right?" Miguel continued, oblivious to Ahmed's reaction. "Airport security just grabbing people. My cousin's in the army. He'd lose his shit if they treated him like that." "Yes," Ahmed managed, his accent thicker when he was stressed. "Very wrong." He needed to get away, needed to think, needed to contact Khalil immediately. "I finish this section," Ahmed said, gesturing vaguely down the tunnel. "You go ahead." Miguel shrugged and headed back toward the main maintenance bay. The moment his footsteps faded, Ahmed pulled out his phone with shaking hands. Not his regular phone, the encrypted burner that only 3 people in the world had the number for. The call connected on the first ring. "It's me," Ahmed whispered in Arabic. "She's here, the army woman, at the airport." Silence on the other end, then Khalil's voice, deadly calm. "You're certain?" "Yes, there's a video. She was arrested by security. But Khalil, if she's here, if she found us, stay calm, brother. How much of our operation could she know?" Ahmed closed his eyes, thinking back over 18 months of careful planning. The weapons cache. In Storage Unit 47, the surveillance of security protocols, the detailed timeline they'd developed. How much had they compromised without knowing it? "I don't know. Maybe everything." Another pause. "We accelerate the timeline. Today. Are you ready?" Ahmed's chest tightened. They'd planned for next week, when the International Trade Summit would bring maximum casualties. But if Elena Curry was here, if she knew... "Yes," Ahmed lied. "I'm ready." "Good. I'll contact the others. Remember, if she somehow gets free, if she comes looking, you know nothing. You're just Ahmed, the maintenance worker." The line went dead. Ahmed stared at his phone, his hands shaking now without restraint. 3 years of living among these people. 3 years of Miguel telling him about his kids, of sharing lunch with Jennifer from accounting, of watching Tom, the custodian, take care of his sick mother. He'd told himself they were the enemy, occupiers, oppressors. But Tom had driven him to the emergency room when Ahmed's appendix burst. Miguel had invited him to his daughter's quinceañera. These people had shown him more kindness than... Ahmed forced himself to stop thinking. The mission was everything. His family's blood demanded justice. The American war machine had killed his parents, his sister, his nephew, who was only 6 years old. That debt must be paid. But his hands were still shaking as he climbed the maintenance ladder toward the main terminal. Upstairs in the medical station, Dr. Sarah Gray was finishing her documentation when her radio crackled. All medical personnel, we have incoming federal aircraft, requesting emergency medical clearance. Unknown casualties. Sarah frowned. Federal aircraft meant serious business, usually DOD or alphabet agency types who didn't play around. She grabbed her trauma kit and headed for the administrative office where she could get more information. Elena heard the radio chatter through the thin walls and felt her stomach drop. Federal aircraft, emergency medical clearance. Either her handler was coming in hot or this situation was about to get a lot worse. "Officer Thompson," Elena said, her voice carefully controlled. "I need to make a phone call." Thompson looked up from his paperwork. "You'll get your phone call when you're processed." "You don't understand." "Ma'am, I understand perfectly. You're in custody for assaulting security personnel. The process doesn't change because you claim to be a veteran." Elena studied Thompson's face, noting the way his jaw tightened when she mentioned her service. There was something personal there, pain maybe, or guilt. "You lost someone," Elena said quietly. "Military." Thompson's pen stopped moving. "That's none of your business. Iraq or Afghanistan?" "I said that's none of your business." But Thompson's voice cracked slightly. "I'm sorry for your loss," Elena said, meaning it. "But right now you need to listen to me very carefully. That helicopter coming in, it's not here by coincidence." The sound of rotors was getting closer now, and Thompson's radio crackled with urgent chatter from the control tower. Elena could make out fragments. Military aircraft requesting immediate landing clearance. Federal priority override. Thompson's face went pale as he processed the implications. "What the hell did you do?" "My job," Elena said simply. "Officer Thompson, you're about to be in the middle of something much bigger than a disorderly. And conduct arrest. I need you to uncuff me. Now. Like hell." The building shook slightly as the Black Hawk touched down somewhere outside. Almost immediately, Thompson's radio exploded with chatter. "All units, federal agents inbound to Security Office 3. This is Control. We have federal marshals demanding immediate access. Thompson, what the hell is going on down there?" Thompson stared at Elena, his confidence evaporating. "Who are you?" Elena met his eyes steadily. "Someone who's been tracking a terrorist cell for 8 months. And thanks to your little performance out there, they now know I'm here." The truth hit Thompson like a physical blow. The woman he'd arrested wasn't just some disgruntled veteran causing trouble. She was an active federal asset, and he'd just blown her cover in front of the entire airport. "Jesus Christ," Thompson whispered. "Officer Thompson." Eleanor's voice carried the calm authority of someone used to command under pressure. "In about 30 seconds, some very serious people are going to walk through that door. When they do, you have 2 choices. You can be part of the solution, or you can be part of the problem. But either way, you need to understand that people are going to die if we don't handle this correctly." Thompson's hands shook as he reached for his keys. The helicopter rotors were winding down outside, but Elena could already hear heavy footsteps in the corridor. Her extraction team was here, but somewhere in the maintenance tunnels below, Ahmed Hassan was making his way towards Storage Unit 47, where 18 months of planning would finally bear its terrible fruit. The hunt was about to begin. The footsteps in the corridor weren't just heavy. They were precise, measured, the kind that came from years of moving in formation. Elena counted at least 3 sets, possibly 4. Thompson fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking as the sound grew closer. The security office door burst open without warning. 3 men in civilian clothes but unmistakably military bearing filled the doorway, their eyes quickly scanning the room for threats. Elena recognized the lead figure immediately, despite the missing left arm and the civilian jacket. Captain James Reaper Sullivan, her handler, and the man who'd pulled her out of more than one impossible situation. "Step away from the asset," Sullivan said quietly, his voice carrying the kind of authority that made people obey without question. Thompson nearly dropped his keys. "Asset? Who the hell are you people?" Sullivan's remaining hand moved slightly, revealing the federal credentials. Clipped to his belt. "Captain James Sullivan, Department of Defense Special Operations. This woman is under federal jurisdiction." Behind Sullivan, Elena could see 2 other operators, both carrying the relaxed alertness of Special Forces veterans. One was scanning the hallway, the other had positioned himself to watch the office interior, professional, efficient, and probably armed to the teeth despite the civilian clothes. "Federal jurisdiction?" Thompson's voice cracked. "She assaulted my officers with a weapon." Sullivan's eyes fixed on Thompson with laser intensity. "She defended herself from unlawful detention. Now step away." Elena felt the cuffs fall away from her wrists, Thompson's hands still trembling as he unlocked them. She rubbed her wrists, assessing the damage. Minor bruising, nothing that would affect her operational capability. "Captain," Elena said, standing carefully and favoring her injured leg. "Status report? Your cover's blown 6 ways to Sunday. Video's gone viral. 14,000 shares and climbing. Local news, national pickup incoming." Sullivan's tone was matter-of-fact, but Elena could see the concern in his eyes. "How's your operational security?" Elena's mind raced through the possibilities. Could be compromised. If they've been monitoring social media, they have been. Sullivan's expression darkened. "We need to move. Now." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Thompson stepped forward, his earlier authority replaced by genuine concern. "Wait, you said terrorist cell, here, at this airport?" Sullivan and Elena exchanged glances. Standard protocol was to keep local law enforcement in the dark, but circumstances had just shredded the playbook. "Officer Thompson," Elena said carefully, "how well do you know your airport staff, particularly maintenance and ground crew? We do background checks on everyone." "That's not what I asked." Elena's voice carried the edge of someone who'd learned not to trust paperwork over instinct. "Have you noticed anyone acting differently lately? New patterns, changes in behavior?" Thompson's brow furrowed as he thought, "Why would? Jesus. You think one of them is? I think we have less than an hour to find out." Elena turned to Sullivan. "Extract route. Blackhawks on the tarmac. 2-minute sprint if you can manage it." Elena tested her weight on her injured leg. The arrest had aggravated the damage, but she could move if necessary. "They can manage, but Captain, if we extract now, we lose them. 8 months of work gone." Sullivan's jaw tightened. "Elena, your cover is blown. The smart play is extraction and regroup. The smart play assumes we have time to regroup." Elena limped to the window, looking out at the terminal where normal airport operations continued. Passengers waiting for flights, families saying goodbye, business travelers focused on their phones, all of them potential targets if her suspicions were correct. "Ma'am," Thompson interrupted hesitantly, "if there really is a threat here, my officers need to know. We have protocols." "Your protocols assume rational actors," Elena said, turning back to face him. "Terrorist cells don't follow TSA guidelines, Officer Thompson." Sullivan was talking quietly into his radio, coordinating with his team and probably getting updates from their intelligence support. Elena caught fragments. "By media containment. Local PD coordination, Timeline acceleration. A new voice cut through the chatter, Dr. Sarah Gray appearing in the doorway behind Sullivan's operators. "Excuse me, but I need to check on my patient." One of Sullivan's men moved to block her, but Elena held up a hand. "Let her through. Doc Gray, meet Captain Sullivan. Captain, Doc Gray is former Navy corpsman, served 2 tours." Sullivan's expression shifted slightly, recognition and respect flickering across his features. "Corpsman, combat medic," Sarah confirmed, moving to Elena's side and immediately beginning a visual assessment. "Your operative here has been through hell in the last hour. She needs medical attention." "She needs to be extracted," Sullivan countered. "She needs both." Sarah's tone brooked no argument, "And unless I'm mistaken, she's the only one who knows enough about your targets to stop whatever's about to happen." Elena felt a familiar weight settle on her shoulders, the burden of being the person everyone was counting on. 8 months of careful surveillance, of building a cover identity, of tracking financial transactions and communication patterns, all of it leading to this moment in a cramped airport security office. "Captain," Elena said quietly, "patch me. Through to Kim. I need current intelligence on social media monitoring." Sullivan handed her his secure radio. Elena keyed the mic. "Overwatch, this is Blackbird. I need immediate analysis on target awareness of my exposure." David Kim's voice crackled through. "Blackbird, we're tracking unusual communication patterns. Encrypted messaging spike about 40 minutes ago, right after your video started trending. Someone's talking." Elena closed her eyes, processing the implications. Timeline assessment? Unknown but accelerated. Whatever they were planning, they're moving it up. Thompson had been listening to the exchange with growing alarm. "How many people are we talking about? What kind of threat?" "Officer Thompson," Elena said, opening her eyes and fixing him with a steady gaze. "What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. We've been tracking a cell with access to military-grade explosives and possible radiological materials. Their target appears to be aviation infrastructure." The color drained from Thompson's face. "Aviation infrastructure? You mean..." "I mean they want to bring down airplanes, Officer Thompson. Multiple aircraft, maximum casualties, with potential radiological contamination that could shut down air travel nationwide for months." Sullivan was already moving, his tactical mind processing options. "Elena, we need to set up a command post, somewhere we can coordinate search and containment." "Security Command Center," Thompson said immediately. "Full access to all surveillance. Systems, direct communication with TSA and air traffic control." Elena tested her leg again, grimacing at the pain, but finding it manageable. "Doc, can you patch me up enough to stay operational?" Sarah was already reaching into her medical kit. "I can keep you moving for a few hours, but Elena..." She used Elena's first name deliberately, establishing a personal connection. "Don't push this too far. Your body's been through enough." "My body's been through worse," Elena replied, accepting the pain medication Sarah offered. "The question is whether I can move fast enough to stop them before they kill hundreds of innocent people." Outside the security office, the normal sounds of airport operations continued, but Elena knew that somewhere in the maze of terminals, maintenance areas and service corridors, a countdown had begun. And unlike the movies, this one wouldn't stop just because the hero was having a bad day. The hunt was about to begin, and Elena Curry, Master Sergeant, intelligence operative, and the most publicly humiliated veteran in America, was the only person who could stop it. The Security Command Center buzzed with controlled chaos as Elena limped through the door, supported by Dr. Gray's steady hand on her elbow. Banks of monitors lined the walls, displaying feeds from hundreds of cameras throughout Denver International Airport. Officer Thompson moved with newfound purpose, his earlier uncertainty replaced by the focused energy of someone who finally understood the stakes. "Full access," Thompson announced to the duty officers, his voice carrying new authority. Federal, Operation, Department of Defense Oversight. These people have command authority. Elena settled into a chair in front of the main console, her leg throbbing despite the pain medication Dr. Gray had administered. Sullivan positioned himself behind her, his remaining hand resting on the back of her chair, a gesture of both protection and support that didn't go unnoticed. "Kim, you there?" Elena spoke into Sullivan's secure radio. "Present, Blackbird. I've got full intelligence package ready for download. Send it to..." Elena looked at Thompson questioningly. "Secure Terminal 7, Thompson supplied, pointing to a computer station with federal access capabilities. Elena's fingers flew over the keyboard despite her fatigue, accessing files that represented 8 months of painstaking surveillance work. Names, photos, financial transactions, communication intercepts, the digital trail of a terrorist cell that had managed to embed itself in American infrastructure. "There," Elena said, pointing to a photograph on the screen. "Ahmed Hassan, maintenance worker, employed here for 3 years. Clean background check, model employee by all accounts." Thompson leaned forward, studying the face. "I know him. Quiet guy, keeps to himself, never any problems." "That's what makes him perfect," Elena said grimly. "Look at his employment history. Started 2 weeks after the cell leader arrived in country. Financial records show regular payments to a mosque that our NSA intercepts have linked to radical recruitment." Dr. Gray moved behind Elena, ostensibly checking her patient's vital signs, but actually studying the intelligence files. "What changed? Your mind about him?" she asked quietly. Elena scrolled through surveillance photos, stopping at one that showed Ahmed entering a storage facility. 3 months ago, he started visiting a storage unit in Aurora, paid for in cash, under an assumed name. We couldn't get surveillance inside, but heat signature analysis suggests chemical storage. Sullivan's expression darkened. "Explosive. Precursors? Or worse, we've detected trace radiological signatures in the area." Thompson's radio crackled. "Supervisor Thompson, we have a situation developing in Terminal B. Maintenance worker reporting suspicious activity in the lower levels." Elena and Sullivan exchanged glances. "Which maintenance worker?" Elena asked. Thompson keyed his radio. "This is Thompson. Identify the reporting party. Miguel Vasquez, sir. Says he's concerned about his co-worker acting strange." Elena felt ice form in her stomach. "Miguel Vasquez. He's Ahmed's regular partner, if Miguel's getting suspicious." "Ahmed knows his cover is blown," Sullivan finished. Timeline just accelerated again. Elena was already pulling up building schematics on the computer. "Thompson, I need full structural maps of the maintenance areas, service tunnels, utility access, storage areas, everything." "Why the maintenance areas specifically?" Dr. Gray asked. "Because that's where you'd place charges for maximum structural damage," Elena explained, her fingers tracing pathways on the digital blueprints. "Hit the right support points in the lower levels, and you can bring down entire terminal sections." Thompson's face had gone pale. "How many people are in Terminal B right now?" "Checking passenger manifests." Elena's fingers flew over the keyboard. "Jesus, 4,300 passengers and crew, plus ground support staff." Sullivan was already coordinating with his team via radio. "All units, we have potential imminent threat, Terminal B lower levels. Begin discreet evacuation protocols." "Captain," Elena said, her voice tight with concentration, "we can't just evacuate. If Ahmed sees large-scale movement, he'll detonate immediately. We need to find him first." Dr. Gray had been studying the medical readouts on Elena's monitors. "Your stress indicators are spiking. When did you last eat?" "This morning, maybe." Elena didn't look away from the screens. "Doc, I need you to understand something. If we don't stop this, the body count won't be measured in hundreds. A radiological attack on aviation infrastructure? We're talking about shutting down air travel nationwide for months. Economic damage in the hundreds of billions, and that's assuming they don't manage to bring down any aircraft in flight. Thompson's radio buzzed again. "Sir, Miguel Vasquez is requesting immediate security response. Says he found something in Storage Unit 47. Elena's blood turned to ice. Storage Unit 47. That's not on our watch list. Because it's not off-site, Sullivan realized. It's here, in the airport. Elena was already pulling up the airport's internal storage directory. There, Sublevel 2, Maintenance Storage. Unit 47 is... Oh, shit. What? Thompson leaned over her shoulder. It's directly under the main fuel depot. If they detonate there... She didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the room understood the implications. A radiological device positioned under thousands of gallons of aviation fuel would create a disaster that would make 9/11 look like a training exercise. Sullivan was coordinating evacuation with his team, but Elena could see the impossible mathematics of the situation. Too many people, too little time, and a terrorist who was probably already moving toward his target. "Thompson," Elena said, standing and testing her weight on her injured leg, "I need access to the maintenance tunnels, fastest route to Sublevel 2. "You can't go down there alone," Dr. Gray protested. "Your leg? My leg is fine." Elena's voice carried the steel of someone who'd crawled through Taliban territory with worse injuries. "Captain, I need 2 of your best. Small team, minimal signature." Sullivan nodded. "Rodriguez and Chen both have explosive ordnance experience. Thompson was studying the building schematics. There's a service elevator near the medical station, takes you straight down to Sublevel 2, but the maintenance areas down there are a maze, easy to get lost, and if someone's waiting for you..." "Then we better move fast," Elena said, checking the sidearm Sullivan handed her. "How long since Miguel's initial report?" 12 minutes. Elena felt the familiar calm that came before combat. Ahmed's had 12 minutes to reach his target. Depending on the device, he could detonate any time after. She paused, calculating. Now. As if summoned by her words, a deep rumble shook the building. Not an explosion, yet, but the sound of heavy machinery moving in the lower levels. "That's the freight elevator," Thompson said, his face grim. "Someone's moving something heavy." Elena limped toward the door, adrenaline overriding her pain. "Then we're out of time for subtle approaches." Dr. Gray caught her arm. "Elena, wait. Let me come with you. You'll need medical support if things go wrong, you'll need to help with mass casualty triage up here." Elena cut her off. "But Doc?" She turned back, meeting Sarah's eyes. "If we don't make it back, make sure people remember that Ahmed Hassan was a good man who got lost. Somewhere along the way. He's not evil, he's broken, just like a lot of us." Sullivan moved to Elena's side, his expression grim but determined. "Ready, Sergeant?" Elena Curry, Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, looked around the command center one last time. At Thompson, who'd gone from antagonist to ally in the space of an hour. At Dr. Gray, who'd seen through her facade to the wounded warrior beneath. At the monitors showing thousands of innocent people going about their daily lives, unaware that their fate rested in the hands of a broken veteran and her makeshift team. "Let's go stop a war," Elena said quietly, and headed for the maintenance tunnels where her 8-month hunt would finally end. The service elevator descended through the airport's mechanical spine with a grinding whir that masked the sound of Elena's tactical radio. Sullivan's operators, Rodriguez and Chen, flanked her in the cramped space, their civilian clothes doing nothing to hide the predatory alertness of Special Forces veterans. Elena studied the building schematics on her tablet, memorizing the maze of maintenance tunnels that sprawled beneath Terminal B like concrete arteries. "Sublevel 2 in 30 seconds, Rodriguez murmured, his voice carrying the flat calm of someone who'd done this dance before. Chen takes point. I've got rear security. Sergeant, you direct, we follow. Elena nodded, testing her weight on her injured leg one more time. The pain was a constant throb now, but manageable. She'd operated in worse condition. The elevator shuddered to a stop, and the doors opened onto a dimly lit corridor that smelled of concrete dust and machine oil. The maintenance level was a different world from the polished terminals above. Exposed pipes ran along the ceiling, and the air hummed with the constant vibration of ventilation systems and fuel pumps. Elena oriented herself using the tablet, then pointed left down a corridor lined with storage units and electrical panels. Storage Unit 47 is 200 meters that way, she whispered, past the main fuel line junction. They moved in tactical formation, Chen scanning ahead with his sidearm ready, Elena in the middle reading building systems on her tablet, Rodriguez watching their six. The concrete floor was solid under their feet, but Elena could feel the vibration of aircraft operations above them. Thousands of people whose lives depended on 3 broken veterans, finding 1 lost maintenance worker. Elena's earpiece crackled with David Kim's voice. Blackbird, we've got thermal imaging from above. Single heat signature moving in your area, approximately 50 meters ahead of your position. Copy that, Overwatch. Elena held up a closed fist, and the team froze. She studied her tablet, overlaying Kim's thermal data with the building schematic. He's in the fuel line access corridor, moving toward Unit 47. Chen gestured to a side passage that would allow them to flank their target. Elena shook her head. Too much risk of getting lost in the maze. Better to move direct and fast. They crept forward, the sound of their footsteps masked by the mechanical noise around them. Elena's tactical mind catalogued details automatically. Emergency exit locations, potential cover positions, structural weak points. The training never left you, even when your body was falling apart. Ahead, she could see light spilling from an open doorway. Storage Unit 47. Elena motioned for the team to hold position while she used her tablet's camera function to peer around the corner. Ahmed Hassan knelt beside a metal case, his hands working with practiced precision on something. Elena couldn't quite see, but she could smell it, the sharp chemical tang of explosives mixed with something else, something that made her radiation detector begin clicking softly. Elena pulled back and showed Rodriguez and Chen what she'd seen via hand signals. 1 target, unknown device configuration, confirmed radiological signature. Rodriguez's expression darkened. Radiological devices changed everything. Even if they stopped the explosion, contamination could still kill thousands. Elena's earpiece buzzed with Thompson's voice from the command center. Blackbird, we've evacuated the immediate area around the fuel depot, but we can't move faster without causing panic. How's your timeline? Elena keyed her mic softly. Unknown. Target is actively working on device. Estimate 10 minutes to completion, maybe less. Copy. Medical teams are standing by. Elena looked at Rodriguez and Chen, seeing her own grim calculation reflected in their faces. 10 minutes wasn't enough time for a full bomb disposal protocol. They had 1 chance to get this right. But as Elena prepared to move, her tablet chimed. With an incoming message from Kim. Blackbird, we've got a problem. Second heat signature just entered the building, coming down the main service elevator. Elena felt ice form in her chest. Backup. Unknown, but thermal suggests armed individual, moving with purpose toward your location. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. Another cell member, private security, or something worse, someone who'd seen the viral video and decided to take matters into their own hands. She was about to key her mic when she heard footsteps echoing down the main corridor. Heavy boots, moving fast, but not trying to be quiet. Elena gestured for her team to take cover positions, then risked another look around the corner. Ahmed, had heard the footsteps too, his hands stilled on the device, and Elena could see his face in profile, no longer the quiet maintenance worker, but a man caught between duty and doubt. Whatever he was building, it wasn't finished yet. The footsteps grew closer, and Elena caught a glimpse of movement in the main corridor. A figure in civilian clothes, but moving with military bearing. As he passed under a light, Elena's heart stopped. Tank Curry, her brother. Elena bit back a curse. Tank must have seen the news coverage, put together enough pieces to track her. Location. Her protective, stubborn, completely untrained brother was about to walk into a radiological bomb situation. Elena keyed her mic urgently. All stations. Civilian family member has entered the AO. Repeat, untrained civilian in the operational area. Sullivan's voice crackled back. Negative on family extraction, too risky. But Tank was already calling out, his voice echoing through the maintenance tunnels. Elena, I know you're down here. This is insane. You can't handle this alone. Ahmed's head snapped up at the sound, his hands moving more frantically on the device. Elena could see wires now and what looked like a timer display. Whatever Tank's arrival had triggered, Ahmed was accelerating his timeline. Elena made a command decision that violated every protocol she'd ever learned. She stepped out of cover, hands visible, and walked slowly towards storage unit 47. Ahmed, she called softly, using the name she'd learned from 8 months of surveillance. We need to talk. Ahmed looked up, his face a mask of confusion and determination. Up close, Elena could see the device clearly, military-grade explosives wrapped around what appeared to be medical isotope containers. Radiological dispersal device, exactly what they'd feared. You're the woman from the video, Ahmed said, his English accent thick with stress. The soldier they hurt. Elena nodded slowly, keeping her hands visible. I'm Elena Curry, Master, Sergeant U.S. Army, and you're Ahmed Hassan, maintenance worker, 3 years service at DIA, exemplary record until 6 months ago. Ahmed's hands stilled on the device. How do you know my name? Because I've been watching you, Ahmed, learning about you, and I think you're making a mistake. Behind her, Elena could hear Tank's footsteps getting closer, and Rodriguez and Chen moving to intercept him. But her focus remained on Ahmed and the device that could kill thousands. You want to know something, Ahmed, Elena said, lowering herself carefully to sit on the concrete floor, her injured leg extended. 3 years ago, I was lying in a hospital bed in Germany, wondering if my life was over, wondering if everything I'd sacrificed meant anything. Ahmed's eyes flickered with something that might have been recognition. The device you're building, it won't bring back your family. It'll just create more families like yours, more children, who grow up wondering why their parents never came home. For a moment, the only sound in the storage unit was the ticking of the timer on Ahmed's device. Elena could see the conflict in his eyes, 3 years of American kindness warring with the pain that had driven him to this moment. Then Tank's voice echoed through the corridor again. Elena, where the hell are you? And Ahmed's hands moved back toward the detonator. Ahmed's finger hovered over the detonator, his entire body trembling with the weight of 3 years' worth of carefully suppressed doubt. Elena could see the war playing out in his eyes, the memory of his family's death against the kindness Miguel had shown him, the radical ideology that had sustained him against the quiet humanity of his American co-workers. Ahmed, Elena said softly, not daring to move from her position on the concrete floor. Tell me about your sister. His hand stilled. What? Your sister? Amira. She was 6 when the drone strike hit your neighborhood, wasn't she? Ahmed's face went white. Elena had gambled on intelligence gathered months ago, fragments of intercepted communications that painted a picture of personal loss driving ideological rage. How do you know her name? Ahmed whispered. Because I know what it's like to lose someone you're supposed to protect. Elena's voice carried the weight of her own survivor's guilt. I lost 3 soldiers under my command. Good people. I can still see their faces. Behind her, Elena could hear Tank's increasingly frantic calls and the sound of Rodriguez and Chen moving to intercept him. But her entire focus remained on the man with the detonator and the timer that showed less than 5 minutes remaining. The difference is, Elena continued, I didn't blame innocent people for their deaths. I blamed myself. Ahmed's finger moved away from the detonator, but his grip remained firm. You don't understand. Your people killed my family. My nephew was playing soccer when your drone... My people. Elena's voice hardened slightly. Ahmed, I've read your file. The drone that killed your family was targeting a Taliban commander who was using civilian buildings as shields. The same commander who'd been placing IEDs that killed children walking to school. That doesn't matter, Ahmed's voice cracked, with pain. They were innocent. Yes, they were. Elena's acknowledgement seemed to surprise him. And so are the 4,000 people in the terminal above us. So is Miguel, who drove you to the hospital when you had appendix surgery. So is Jennifer from accounting, who always asks about your mother back home. Elena could see the conflict intensifying in Ahmed's face. 3 years of careful radicalization warring against 3 years of human connection. Tank's voice suddenly echoed much closer. Elena, I can hear voices. Where are you? Ahmed's head snapped toward the sound, his hand moving back toward the detonator. Who is that? My brother, Elena said honestly. Tank, he's not military, not intelligence, just a construction worker who's terrified that his sister is about to get herself killed. If he comes closer, he won't. Elena keyed her mic briefly, hoping Rodriguez and Chen would intercept Tank before he stumbled into the storage unit. Ahmed, you have a choice to make, but before you make it, I want you to understand something. Elena shifted position slightly, letting Ahmed see the full extent of her leg injury, the way she favored her left side, the pain medication patches visible on her arm. This is what war looks like, Elena said. Not the propaganda, not the ideology, this broken bodies, broken minds, broken families on both sides. Your sister's death was a tragedy, but killing innocent people won't honor her memory. It'll just create more broken families. Ahmed's voice was barely a whisper. I don't know how to stop. I've come so far. You stop by choosing to be the man Miguel thinks you are, instead of the weapon someone else made you into. Elena could hear commotion in the corridor now. Tank arguing with someone, probably Rodriguez trying to keep him away from the storage unit. The sound seemed to galvanize Ahmed, his military training taking over. Your brother shouldn't be here, Ahmed said, his voice becoming more focused. This area isn't safe. Elena felt a chill as she realized Ahmed was right. If the device detonated, Tank would be in the kill radius. Ahmed, please. But Ahmed was already moving, stepping away from the device and toward the storage unit entrance. Elena saw his intention and felt her heart stop. He was going to detonate the bomb, to save Tank from getting closer. No! Elena lunged forward, her injured leg screaming in protest. But Ahmed was already shouting into the corridor. Stop! Don't come any closer! There's a bomb! Tank's voice came back immediately. Elena, is that you? I'm coming to get you. Tank, no. Elena called out. Stay back. But she could hear his footsteps getting closer, the sound of Rodriguez and Chen trying to restrain him without causing an incident that might trigger Ahmed to detonate. Ahmed's hand was back on the detonator now, but Elena could see the change in his posture. He wasn't preparing to attack. He was preparing to sacrifice himself to warn others away. Ahmed, Elena said quietly, you don't have to die here. Yes, Ahmed's voice carried a strange peace. I built this thing. I brought death to this place. I have to be the one to stop it. Elena studied the device, her military training analyzing the configuration. The timer. Can you disarm it? Yes. But if I do, if I help you... Ahmed's voice cracked. My handler will know. He'll activate the others. Elena felt ice form in her chest. Others? You think I'm the only one? We have assets in airports across the country. If I betray the mission... Elena keyed her mic urgently. Overwatch, priority flash traffic, multiple devices, multiple airports. This is a coordinated attack. David Kim's voice crackled back. Copy, Blackbird. Alerting all stations now. Ahmed was watching Elena with something that might have been respect. You really didn't know. We suspected a cell. We didn't know the scope. Elena met his eyes steadily. Ahmed, if you help us stop this, we can protect you. Witness protection, new identity. They killed my family for living too close to... The wrong man, Ahmed said quietly. What do you think they'll do to a traitor? Elena heard Tank's voice getting closer again, and this time Rodriguez couldn't seem to stop him. Her brother's protective instincts were overriding tactical sense, just like always. Ahmed, Elena said urgently, my brother is going to walk around that corner in about 30 seconds. When he does, what happens next is your choice. You can detonate that device and kill him along with thousands of others, or you can choose to be the man who saved lives instead of taking them. Ahmed looked at the device, then at Elena, then toward the corridor where Tank's voice was getting louder. Elena, I don't care what kind of classified bullshit this is. You're my sister. Ahmed's finger moved toward the detonator, but instead of pressing it, he began carefully disconnecting wires. Tell me how to call off the others, Ahmed said, quietly, his hands steady on the device, and I'll help you save your brother. Elena felt tears she didn't know she'd been holding back start to flow. Ahmed, but Elena, Ahmed continued, his voice carrying new resolve. When this is over, I want to meet Miguel's daughter, the one getting married next month. I want to understand what I almost took away from him. Elena nodded, not trusting. Her voice. Outside the storage unit, she could hear Tank finally breaking free from Rodriguez and Chen, his footsteps echoing toward them. Ahmed disconnected the final wire, and the timer went dark. Tank! Elena called out. It's safe. You can come in! A moment later, her brother appeared in the doorway. 6 feet of worried construction worker, taking in the scene of his sister sitting on a concrete floor next to a man disarming a radiological bomb. Elena, Tank said quietly, we need to talk. Tank Curry stood in the doorway of Storage Unit 47, his hard hat pushed back on his head and concrete dust on his work boots, staring at a scene that looked like something from a nightmare. His sister sat on the floor next to a device that even his untrained eye could recognize as a bomb, while a man he didn't know worked carefully with wires and components that gleamed with menace under the fluorescent lights. Jesus Christ, Elena, Tank breathed. What the hell is this? This is Ahmed Hassan, Elena said, struggling to stand with Rodriguez's help, and he just saved your life, along with about 4,000 other people. Ahmed looked up from the disarmed device, his face streaked with sweat and something that might have been relief. Your sister is very brave, Mr. Curry, very stubborn too. Tank's protective instincts warred with confusion as he took in the tactical gear on Rodriguez and Chen. The federal credentials, the professional way they moved around what was obviously a crime scene. Elena, what aren't you telling me? Elena limped over to her brother, noting how he automatically positioned himself to support her weight. Even in the middle of a terrorist incident, Tank was still trying to take care of her. I'm telling you that for the last 8 months, I haven't been unemployed and looking for work. I've been tracking the most dangerous terrorist cell to threaten American soil since 9/11. Tank's face went through several expressions: confusion, anger, hurt, and finally something that might have been pride. You've been working? This whole time? This whole time. Elena met his eyes steadily. And Tank, I'm good at it, better than I thought I'd be. Ahmed had finished securing the device and was now talking quietly into Elena's radio, providing intelligence about other cell members and planned attacks. Elena caught fragments. Seattle, Tacoma. 3-day window. Storage unit 774. Tank listened to the exchange with growing understanding. How many others? We don't know yet, Elena admitted, but Ahmed's cooperation just gave us the best intelligence break we've had in months. Elena's earpiece crackled with David Kim's voice. Blackbird, we've got federal teams mobilizing to 6 airports based on Hassan's intelligence. Estimated time to neutralization 2 hours. Copy that, Overwatch? Elena looked at Ahmed, who was watching the exchange with the expression of a man who'd just stepped off a cliff and wasn't sure if he'd land safely. Ahmed, are you ready to come upstairs? There are going to be a lot of people who want to talk to you. Ahmed nodded slowly. Will I be able to see Miguel again? To explain? I think Miguel's going to want to understand, Elena said gently. And Ahmed? What you did here, choosing to save lives instead of taking them, that matters. That's who you really are. Tank had been watching this exchange with the expression of someone trying to process information that didn't fit his world view. Elena, when you said you were getting help for your PTSD, I am. Elena met her brother's eyes. Tank, the work I do, it gives me purpose. It makes the pain mean something. But it's also dangerous, and I couldn't tell you because I would have tried to stop you. Tank finished quietly. Because I've been treating you like you're broken instead of like you're still a soldier. Elena felt tears threatening again. Tank, no, Elena. I've been an ass. Ever since you came home, I've been so focused on taking care of you that I forgot you're still the same person who enlisted to protect people. You're still the same person who crawled through enemy fire to save her unit. Rodriguez was coordinating extraction via radio while Chen maintained security watch, but Elena could see them listening to the family conversation with the careful attention of professionals who understood the importance of personal connections in high-stress situations. Mr. Curry, Ahmed said quietly, your sister saved my life today. Not just physically, she saved my soul. I was going to kill innocent people because I couldn't see past my own pain. She helped me remember who I wanted to be. Tank studied Ahmed's face with the direct assessment of a man who'd spent his life judging character in dangerous situations. You really were going to? Yes, and your sister talked me out of it while risking her own life to do it. Ahmed's voice carried genuine respect. You should be very proud of her. Tank looked at Elena with new eyes. Not seeing the broken veteran he'd been trying to protect, but the intelligence operative who just prevented a mass casualty attack. I am proud of her. I've been so scared of losing you too, Elena. After Mom, after everything you went through over there. You're not going to lose me, Elena said firmly. But Tank, you have to let me do my job, even when it scares you. Eleanor's radio crackled with Sullivan's voice. Blackbird, we need you topside. Media situation is developing, and we've got congressional oversight incoming. Your brother and Hassan need immediate debriefing. Elena keyed her mic. Copy, Captain. Moving to extraction point now. As they prepared to leave Storage Unit 47, Ahmed paused at the entrance, looking back at the disarmed device. Elena, what will happen to me now? Elena considered the question carefully. Ahmed had committed federal crimes, but his cooperation, had potentially saved thousands of lives and provided intelligence that could prevent multiple attacks. "I don't know," Elena said honestly. "But Ahmed, what you did here, the choice you made, that's going to matter, both for the legal proceedings and for how you live with yourself going forward." Tank moved to support Elena as they walked toward the service elevator, his construction worker's practical nature already adapting to his sister's reality. "Elena, this thing you do, is it always this intense?" "Not usually," Elena said, with a slight smile. "Most of the time it's just surveillance and paperwork. Today was unusual." "Good," Tank said firmly, "because I don't think my heart can take many more days like this." As they reached the elevator, Elena looked back at Ahmed, who was being escorted by Rodriguez and Chen with professional courtesy rather than hostility. A man who'd been prepared to commit mass murder had instead chosen to save lives, all because someone had taken the time to see him as human rather than enemy. Elena's radio buzzed with updates from other airports: devices found and disarmed in Seattle, suspects arrested in Phoenix, a coordinated response that was only possible because one man had chosen humanity over hatred in a concrete storage room beneath Denver International Airport. The elevator doors closed, carrying them back toward the surface, toward media scrutiny and congressional hearings, and all the complications that came with preventing a terrorist attack while going viral on social media. But as they rose toward the terminal, Elena Curry allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. 8 months of work had led to this moment, and despite everything that had gone wrong, despite her public humiliation and compromised cover, they had won. The war went on. It always did. But today, in the maintenance tunnels beneath an airport in Colorado, they had won. The elevator rose through the airport's mechanical spine like a decompression chamber, carrying Elena from the concrete reality of counter-terrorism operations back to the polished world of civilian life. Each floor that passed felt like crossing between universes, from the place where Ahmed Hassan had chosen humanity over hatred, to the realm where congressional committees would debate the implications of that choice. Elena's leg throbbed with renewed intensity as the adrenaline faded, leaving behind the familiar ache that had become her constant companion. Tank stood beside her, his hard hat now seeming oddly out of place, like a construction worker who'd accidentally wandered into a spy thriller. Ahmed remained quiet, flanked by Rodriguez and Chen, his face carrying the expression of a man who'd just stepped off the edge of everything he'd believed about himself. The elevator shuddered to a stop at the main terminal level, and the doors opened onto controlled chaos. Elena could see Sullivan coordinating with what appeared to be half the federal law enforcement alphabet: FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, and probably others she couldn't immediately identify. Dr. Sarah Gray rushed toward them the moment the elevator doors opened, her medical training overriding protocol as she immediately began assessing Elena's condition. "How's the pain level?" Sarah asked, her hands already checking Elena's pulse and pupil response. "Manageable," Elena lied, accepting Sarah's support as they moved toward the security command center. Tank stayed close, his protective instincts now tempered by newfound respect for his sister's capabilities. "Elena, there are news crews everywhere. Someone leaked that this was a federal operation." Elena wasn't surprised. In the age of social media and citizen journalism, keeping operations quiet was nearly impossible. The viral video of her arrest had probably already been connected to the federal response, creating a narrative that would require careful management. "Mr. Hassan," Dr. Gray said gently, addressing Ahmed as they walked, "there are going to be a lot of people who want to talk to you, but first, medical wants to make sure you're okay. What you did down there, that took incredible courage." Ahmed looked at her with surprise, as if he hadn't expected kindness from his former enemies. "I almost killed innocent people, Doctor. I don't think courage is the right word." The courage was in stopping, Elena said firmly. Ahmed, you had every reason to complete your mission. The fact that you chose differently, that's what matters now. Through the windows of the terminal, Elena could see the media circus forming outside. News vans, reporters, probably protesters on both sides of whatever narrative was already forming about disabled veterans and national security. Officer Thompson appeared at Elena's side, his earlier authority replaced by something approaching reverence. Ma'am, General Hayes is here. She's requesting immediate debrief, but the medical team wants you checked out first. Elena nodded, unsurprised that her Pentagon handler had arrived so quickly. General Hayes would be managing not just the operational aftermath, but the political implications of a highly decorated disabled veteran stopping a terrorist attack hours after being publicly humiliated by airport security. Thompson, Elena said, pausing to meet his eyes, what you did today, helping instead of hindering when you realized the stakes, that matters. You made the right choice when it counted. Thompson's face flushed slightly. Ma'am, I owe you an apology. All of you. I let my own issues cloud my judgment. We all have issues, Elena replied gently. The question is whether we let them make us better or worse. 3 months later, Elena Curry sat in a windowless conference room deep within the Hart Senate office building, fluorescent lights, casting the same harsh glare she'd grown accustomed to in briefing rooms from Kandahar to Langley. But instead of targeting packages and tactical briefings, today's focus was on something far more complex, the intersection of veteran welfare and national security in an age of viral videos and congressional oversight. Senator Patricia Williams, chair of the Veterans Affairs Committee, leaned forward across the polished table. Master Sergeant Curry, for the record, can you explain how a decorated combat veteran ended up being forcibly removed from an airport while conducting a classified counter-terrorism operation? Elena adjusted her position in the witness chair, her leg still protesting after 3 months of physical therapy. The congressional hearing room was packed with reporters, veteran advocates, and policy wonks, all trying to understand how a moment of public humiliation had led to preventing the largest coordinated terrorist attack since 9/11. Senator, the short answer is that my cover required me to appear as an unemployed veteran with PTSD and chronic pain issues, Elena said, her voice carrying the measured tone she'd learned in media training. The reality is that those weren't just cover elements. They were genuine challenges I was dealing with while conducting the mission. Across the room, Elena could see Tank in the gallery, wearing the only suit he owned and looking deeply uncomfortable, but fiercely proud. Next to him sat Dr. Sarah Gray, who'd become something of a celebrity in veteran advocacy circles after testifying about the medical aspects of Elena's case. Senator Williams consulted her notes. The committee has reviewed your service record and the intelligence gathered during Operation Blackbird. Your work led to the prevention of coordinated attacks on 6 major airports and the arrest of 17 individuals. But what we're trying to understand is the human cost of using wounded veterans for these operations. Elena had been preparing for this question for weeks. Senator, wounded veterans aren't damaged goods waiting for charity. We're experienced operators with unique skill sets and deep motivation to continue serving. The question isn't whether we should be utilized. It's how to do it safely and ethically. From the witness table adjacent to hers, Ahmed Hassan spoke up with the permission of his attorney. If I may, Senator, Master Sergeant Curry's condition, her visible struggle, with pain and trauma, is what allowed her to reach me. I saw someone who understood suffering, not a perfect soldier delivering propaganda. Ahmed's presence at the hearing had been controversial, but Elena had insisted on it. His cooperation had saved lives, and his perspective was crucial to understanding. how radicalization could be countered through human connection rather than force alone. Mr. Hassan, Senator Williams addressed him directly, you've entered into a cooperation agreement with federal prosecutors. Can you explain what changed your mind in that storage room? Ahmed looked across the hearing room, his eyes finding Miguel Vasquez in the gallery. His former co-worker had attended every day of the hearings, a gesture of support that still brought tears to Ahmed's eyes. Senator, for 3 years I worked alongside people who showed me kindness despite having every reason to fear or hate me. Miguel drove me to the hospital when I was sick. Jennifer from accounting always asked about my mother back home. These weren't tactics or strategies, they were just people being human to another human being. Ahmed paused, collecting himself. Master Sergeant Curry helped me remember that my sister Amira loved to laugh. She loved American cartoons, actually. She would have been horrified by what I was planning to do in her memory. Elena watched the committee members process this testimony, seeing some of them struggle with the complexity of rehabilitation versus punishment, of understanding versus accountability. Senator Williams turned back to Elena. Master Sergeant, recommendations have been made for changes in how we support veterans transitioning to civilian life, particularly those with service-connected disabilities. You've become something of a spokesperson for these issues. What would you tell other veterans who might be watching this hearing? Elena thought about all the veterans she'd met in the past 3 months, at VA hospitals, support groups, job fairs, where employers still saw disabilities rather than capabilities. She thought about Officer Joey Thompson, who'd used his experience from their incident to develop veteran-friendly training programs for security personnel nationwide. I'd tell them that our service doesn't end when we come home, Elena said. It changes form. Some of us serve in traditional ways, government, military, first responders. Others serve by teaching, by building things, by raising families who understand the cost of freedom, and some of us serve in ways that might not look traditional, but are no less important. Elena gestured toward the gallery where she could see Jennifer Walsh, who'd evolved from viral video creator to veteran advocacy coordinator, using her social media platform to connect veterans with resources and opportunities. The woman who filmed my arrest that day, Jennifer Walsh, she's now using her platform to help homeless veterans find housing. Officer Thompson, who ordered my removal, developed training programs that have prevented similar incidents at airports. Nationwide, Dr. Gray opened a clinic specifically for treating veteran trauma with the understanding that our injuries, visible and invisible, don't define our limitations. Elena paused, meeting the eyes of committee members who would help determine policy affecting millions of veterans. What I'd tell other veterans is this: don't let anyone, including yourself, convince you that your wounds make you worthless. My leg injury didn't disqualify me from stopping a terrorist attack. Tank's guilt about not serving didn't disqualify him from being exactly the brother I needed when everything fell apart. Ahmed's radicalization didn't disqualify him from choosing humanity when it mattered most. Senator Williams nodded thoughtfully. And your future plans, Master Sergeant? Elena smiled, thinking about the security consulting firm she and Tank had established, staffed entirely by veterans with specialized skills and unconventional backgrounds. I'm going to keep serving, Senator, just maybe not in ways that end up on viral videos. The hearing room erupted in laughter, a moment of levity in proceedings that had dealt with heavy topics of terrorism, trauma, and redemption. As the committee recessed, Elena watched Ahmed walking with his attorney toward the exit, where Miguel waited to drive him to his new job at a veteran-owned security company. Tank approached the witness table, still awkward in his suit, but beaming with pride. Ready to go home, sis? Elena gathered her materials, thinking about the flight back to Denver, about the work waiting at their consulting firm, about the ongoing mission of proving that broken didn't mean worthless. Yeah, tank, let's go home. Outside the Hart building, protesters on both sides waved signs about veteran care and national security. But Elena walked past them without slowing, flanked by her brother and surrounded by the people who'd helped. Her turn 8 minutes of public humiliation into a lifetime of purpose. The hunt continued. It always would. But now, Elena Curry was hunting for something different, ways to turn the broken pieces of war into building blocks for peace, one veteran at a time. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.